How do you unify a remote team? I'm Chad. I'm the co-founder of We and Me. I get to work with some of the most innovative organizations and top universities on the planet to help make connection and engagement really easy. And in this video, I'm going to share one really powerful strategy from a very odd group called the Bluemen Group, those three crazy looking people in the thumbnail of this video. And I'm going to share a strategy that is inspired by them that I've used and implemented with some really phenomenal all-remote teams. So even before COVID, I have been working with all-remote teams for a while in terms of how do you sustain and create really phenomenal remote culture. And so in this video, I'm going to give you a handful of ideas and frameworks that you can immediately take back and apply to your own team. Let's get into it. All right, so first of all, let me explain the Bluemen Group, these three crazy people in the thumbnail of this video that you've clicked on. If you're not familiar with the Bluemen Group, they're actually hard to describe, but easy to love and much better to see. So cue them up. Told you, hard to describe. So the one powerful overarching strategy that is inspired by the Bluemen Group actually came to me when I attended one of their shows with my wife and family in Boston, Massachusetts several years ago. And they put up some quote, and I searched all throughout my phone trying to find, because I took a picture of it, I loved it so much. I cannot find the exact quote, it's nowhere on the internet. It's something like, if you really want to meaningfully connect and unite, you've got to cook together, dance together, sing together, or build something together. Right, so you can see from that clip, all Bluemen Group's shows are kind of on that theme. Like they're just creating this crazy experience together that's really entertaining for the audience. But the point is, the way they interact with each other is perhaps the most interesting element. So there's this, they never speak, but there's just this human dynamic in the way that they're tuned into each other, the way that they coordinate things, drum and paint and lights and all sorts of crazy stunts. The point is that when a group creates something together, dances together, sings together, it unifies the team. Now, remotely, that happens a little bit differently, right? It's like a Zoom dance party just isn't quite the same thing as being in person with someone. And so what I would say, let me use a little illustration for this. So let's say these are two people on your remote team. They're coming from totally different worlds, right? And when you're not actually synchronously meeting, they're kind of floating out in their own context, right? So they may even be distributed globally or across time zones, or they're all in the same state, but they're just all working from home. And so you've got these remote people that are living their own lives in their own worlds, in their own contexts that are separate from your group. And at work, you want to create some unification so that people feel connected, because the worst thing, and one of the most common things that remote employees report, is feeling this sense of isolation of, even though I know my team is a bunch of cool people, I feel like I'm way on the outskirts of this group. And so ideally, you're creating collisions, right? So work is a place where people collide, where worlds collide. Now that creates conflict and all sorts of other issues, but it's also one of the most beautiful things about the working world, right? You get to come together and you have an excuse to be with people. You have a purpose or a mission that has brought you together. And when we meet for purpose, I would say it has the potential to be like cooking something together, building something together, creating something together, right? That same idea that is taken from Bluemen Group. Now, so if you're using Slack, your worlds might collide very briefly over a message and another message. When you meet over Zoom, you might actually be together kind of in the same world, although I would argue very much that it actually is two separate worlds. Here is the idea though. Most of the time, we mistake connections for commonalities. I would argue that the greatest potential for meaningful connection exists in the differences between us. Now, I don't know the exact math on this, but if you were to imagine these two people, one of my favorite things to do with a Venn diagram is turn them into two big-headed people. So if you can picture these being the heads of two of your employees, and imagine, if you've got a team of 10, imagine 10 others, and they're all little people, and imagine their whole life experience is a Venn diagram. When they overlap, what's in the middle is commonality. Everything else is different, right? So even though we're all human beings, we all share a whole bunch of experiences, just mathematically, the amount of time that we actually spend together is probably, especially in a remote team, 90 to 95% on our own and 5 to 10% together, or 5 to 10% shared experience. That means that 90% of people's life is left completely undiscovered. And when your remote team doesn't understand anything about that 90%, it's really isolating. The more that you can merge those two worlds, the more unified your remote team will be. This is all really important because that for me is the purpose for doing anything to unify your remote teams. You could already take from this video that Bluemen idea and just say, ooh, what could we cook together, build together, create together, etc., right? So even the idea of having a paper plane flying contest. I recently saw a video of the world record of a paper air. There's this crazy, you can get a book, crazy origami airplanes, and you can do that remotely, right? You could take 10 minutes, have everybody get a piece of 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and build an airplane together, and then go get some rough measurements on how far their airplane flew compared to others, and come back with the distance, right? Just building something together like that is a really clever way to build your team and unify the group. Now, realistically, you're not going to do that kind of stuff very frequently. And so the more frequent way of unifying a remote team is through this and through these. It's through conversation. Right, so Will, my co-founder and partner in crime, wrote a book called Ask Powerful Questions, Create Conversations That Matter. And I would say that this concept is one of the most powerful tools that you can do to build a remote team. Now, we have a deck of cards called We Connect cards that have a bunch of questions on them that are intended to skip past the small talk and help worlds merge. So you can imagine that if you started your meeting with everybody just answering the question, what's something funny that's happened to you in the last week, that worlds would merge a little bit. The team would unify a little bit. You can imagine if you started off a strategy planning meeting with what's been one of your favorite moments in life, that the group would all of a sudden be a little bit more connected. They'd feel like they were actually in the same space as opposed to in totally different worlds. And so questions have the ability to unify a remote team. And so one really simple strategy that I've implemented with some remote teams is a question a week. The deck's got 60 questions, and so you have 60 weeks worth of weekly questions in order to ask your group. And Buffer, a really lovely remote team that long before COVID was really highly sought after. They put a lot, and they still have a blog that's very transparent about their journey of being all remote. And one of the things they do is Wednesday water coolers. I'm sure they've taken breaks from this. I'm not sure if they're currently doing it at this moment, but for a good while they were doing Wednesday water coolers. And they'd use We Connect cards to have a question to kick off. People could just jump in, and it's that replacement for the organic connection that gets lost when we're all remote. Hanging out at a water cooler, and that classic metaphor of that's where conversation happens, or that's where collaborations get created. Virtually, you have to be much more intentional about creating those spaces because they will never happen just coincidentally. You're not gonna just be walking along, you're not just gonna accidentally click a Zoom link one day and just pop up into a spontaneous conversation with a coworker, right? Our whole remote life is scheduled. And so I would argue that we have to actually schedule in unification. We have to schedule in connection. And if we don't, it may not happen because people, when we're in work mode, tend to get really task focused when we jump on a call, and we forget the humanity that lies behind everybody's 90% of life experience that doesn't get shared. If you like this video, our other videos are packed with really practical, tangible strategies. In addition to that, the cards and the things I've been sharing and showing in this video, we give away for free. I believe that information should be free, and experiences is how We and Me exists, right? And so I get to help some of the top universities and organizations implement it, but you can also go to the link below and get a free link to a digital connection toolkit, which includes a copy of me and Will's book, Ask Powerful Questions, a deck of We Connect cards, which are those 60 questions, free digital downloads, so you can pull your weekly questions right from there for $0.00. And then you'll also get a copy of the Pocket Guide to Facilitating Human Connections and a deck of We Engage cards, or digital variations of them in the link below. You can also pick up the toolkit. Links are below as well. Have an awesome day.